Okay, well, Joyce, I've been covering financial services for a long time, right? So it's probably never been as bad as now in terms of, redundancies, in terms of salaries, in terms of bonuses. It's kind of like the unspoken thing now. But then you've gone ahead and chosen to write the story, which is very, very timely. So what was the catalyst that made you write the story?
I think this story came about partly from an interview I had with Dato Sri Nazir Razak, where he spoke about ASEAN. That was actually on ASEAN, and the story came out.
AAC,
Yes,
right?
it came out already on print and on radio. So from that conversation that I had with him, I also obviously asked him about banking because he's been banking for so long. So I asked him how are things in the landscape, with the changing landscape and things like that. And he said, he said the golden era of banking is over.
Fantastic.
So when he
that was
said,
the headline
yes,
there, right
so when
there,
he
right?
said that, immediately I'm like, oh my gosh, that's a story as
That's
well,
right,
right?
that's
So I
right,
came back to the office to tell my bosses. And before that, we already had a plan to do something on, because the earnings, you can see ROEs trending down
Correct.
and all that. So we already had a plan to reach out to seasoned bankers and the up and coming, the newer ones, to see what they're doing, and what the bankers are doing for them to say lah. Because all this time is always industry people, outside people commenting, So from that, then we thought, okay, we should reach out to the other bankers and see what they have and their views, and of course the more seasoned ones like Tan Sri Teh Hong Piao. And that's how this story came about.
And even the younger guys, because you spoke to Dato Karosali, you spoke to Joe Concrich from Alliance, you spoke to Zafrul from CIB.
Yes.
So all of them actually...
Farid from
and
Maybank.
Farid from
Dato
Maybank as
Farid,
well.
yes.
So these are kind of like, all by, I think, Afin, right?
We did reach out to others as well, but not all.
Obviously,
yes.
but you got 5 out of the 7 or so, right?
Yes,
6 or 7.
yes.
So what kind of surprised me was last time, they were quite media shy. They wouldn't be so receptive to requests for interviews, but now, bang, in one story, you got 6 of them, right? So did you get the sense that maybe they had something to get off their chest?
I think maybe the newer ones, they are a bit more open as well. But this took a bit of, a lot of behind the scenes. It took some time to get, it took some time to get, right? It took some time to get all this. I think there was one CEO that saw the questions and didn't want to participate.
Well, the recurring theme was operational efficiencies, right? It's all about costs going up and margins staying where
yes,
they are, right?
And then having to rethink their business model.
Correct.
Yeah.
The thing is, all of them buy, without exception, they've all got branches, thousands and thousands of staff, and the disruptor is right here, and it's in the shape of fintech, right?
Yes.
So obviously, when I read your story, I felt that they know the beasts, the barbarians are at the gate, but they don't know quite what to do with it. Did you get that sense?
I think what I get from them was that they acknowledge this whole fintech thing. So a lot of them say, all of them recognize that they are doing something about that. They are not standing still.
That's right.
That's one thing. But what they're doing, some of them, I think AFG CEO Joel said that they have to coexist between the two. Dato Farid said that they have to have complementary, offerings, and I think Dato Karusale mentioned that they are working with fintech to mutually build their solutions, and I think CIMB's Tengku Zafrul admitted that there's this new trend where he foresees there might even be M&As. Like banks.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it's
so
not
they're all
easy to just swallow, you see, because you've got to assimilate the business
yes,
as well, right?
but it looks like they are watching and they are doing something about it. They are not like in denial and say, oh no, banks will not, be. I think in Malaysia it's not here yet, but globally there are business models where the banks are carved out.
Yeah.
So I think but one thing good is they are realistic about it and they're doing something about it.
So the other theme we got from the story is quite true. It's a global theme, right? Low growth, the new normal, kind of like maybe the end of super margin or super bonuses as we know it for banking.
Yes.
But banking has been on in one way or one shape or another for thousands of years, right? So how do we read the Malaysian sector? What's the sense you got from the CEOs?
I think for them, they acknowledge that operationally it's tougher, so they have to look into operations, they have to look into costs. And of course, the catalyst moving forward, I spoke to a banking analyst who has covered banking for like 20 years. And she said that, I won't be so quick to write off the industry. She feels like the banking industry is cyclical. She said it's a proxy to the economy, which it is, and how she says, like the global economy wasn't very good the past few years. So she thinks that the trending down ROEs has partly to do with that. And she says the end of low interest rate growth is the end. We're probably past that already. So she thinks that the banking industry is on the cusp of going up. That's what she reckons. She's been covering the industry for 20 years. But of course, again, there are other people that we spoke to from other research houses. I think one of them was Interpac's head of research, Pong Teng Siu. He thinks that banking stocks has been doing well because of a fresh influx of foreign funds. But from tactical approach, he thinks big funds would probably invest into banks. But you can't find much liquidity in those.
Well, because of weightage, right? But then
yes.
there's only 2 or 3 groups in there who have regional operations, and every country, grows at different speeds, right?
Yes.
So maybe a Maybank or CIMB might have exposure to the high growth Indochina, high growth Indonesia, whereas like an alliance might not, you see.
Yes.
Or an AFIN or Hong Leong might
And that's where they look into business segments. I feel that they feel there's growth, maybe SMEs and all that. That's when, because if you look at the numbers, they're not doing badly, but of course it's just the returns like on
now.
equity. Yes.
So are you
yes.
planning like a part 2, like a sequel in 6 months' time, kind of like a barometer, right? Just to see where they are, right?
Let's see if they will talk to me again.
Yes.
But I guess it's good to look at, to track the changing. Another theme that I think will be interesting is M&As for banks.
Oh, for sure.
That we did a cover on a couple of months ago last year on banking M&As.
So we've got 6 groups now. So maybe
We
6
have
is
about
the
8, I think. 8.
Okay.
8. AFIN, AFG, MMB, CIMB, Hong Leong Bank, Maybank, Public Bank, RHB, 8.
That's right.
But then
They've
there's
only got-
also
they still
like
have 8.
Islamic banks like BIMB and MBSB.
Which is already happening, right?
MBSB that is not Islamic, but it
Kind
is
of like NBFI kind of thing, right? Okay.
So I mean, there's all these factors, and because of the changing landscape, I think the M&A theme is very real.
So the rumor, where's the rumor mill in terms of the next M&A target?
Have to read The Edge this week to find out.
Alrighty, excellent, thank you.
For more on the stories, pick up a copy of The Edge Weekly at all good newsstands.